Welcome back. President Trump trying to make good on his campaign promise to build a wall along the U.S. border with Mexico. But a new report this morning says that the White House may have to make cuts elsewhere, including airport security, the Coast Guard, all to pay for that wall. Joining me right now is former TSA Chief Admiral James Loy. He's also a former Deputy Secretary of Homeland Security. Sir, it's good to have you on the program. Thanks so much for joining us.
Morning, Maria. Nice to be with you.
Talk to us about the challenges that you and some of your colleagues have faced at the border in terms of the budget that we are expecting this week and the expected cuts to things like TSA. Can you characterize the situation at hand right now in terms of challenges?
Well, I think it's a very real challenge, and part of it is just lining up the budget activity against the policy rhetoric of the administration. I think we all are absolutely delighted that the President is going to upgrade the strength of our national security envelope, but there needs to be a recognition that the national security envelope in the wake of 9/11 does include the Coast Guard and agencies within DHS. It's not just the 4 DOD services. By law, the Coast Guard is the 5th armed service of the United States, and the idea of cutting agencies that are contributing to border security at the same time you're trying to strengthen border security needs to be just dealt with a little more constructively. And I think the budget passback process is one of the tools to use to make that happen.
So there is a draft proposal from the Office of Management and Budget, which says that the Coast Guard's budget would be pared by $1.3 billion. Spending on the Transportation Security Administration, TSA, and FEMA would get sliced by $900 million. Now, candidate Trump, of course, promised to build this southern wall, and you have to have a way to pay for that. So how would you expect things to change at TSA as a result of budget cuts that we're expecting to be announced this week?
Well, if those budget cuts were sustained, the challenge is what happens at the borders, whether the wall is there or not. And if, in fact, the wall was even built, the natural extensions of the wall to the Gulf of California on the west and to the Gulf of Mexico on the east is all maritime provinces where the Coast Guard is the principal law enforcement and national security agency to deal with what goes on there. So at the moment, the Coast Guard, for example, is intercepting at sea some 200 tons of drugs every year. 6,000 illegal migrants are collected at sea before they even reach those borders. So to take away the capability to make constructive progress in the very areas that you're looking to sustain makes little sense if you're cutting the agencies that are actually doing that. And as it relates to national security itself, the 5th armed service of this country, the Coast Guard, is making significant contributions in CENTCOM. Ask the 5th Fleet Commander what they can do without the unique capabilities of boarding and dealing with the oil rigs in the Gulf of, or in the Persian Gulf.
Yeah.
Ask the Southcom commander, now the new Secretary of Homeland Security, what were the kind of ships to put to sea in his Navy, so to speak, in Southcom. They were all white ships with stripes on them. They were not Navy gray hulls. So there just needs to be a learning curve dealt with here to recognize the legitimacy of these kinds of contributions to the very thing the President wants to strengthen.
So is there something that you want to make sure must have in that budget come Wednesday, given that you've been on the front lines?
Well, I think without a doubt, the strengthening of border agents, which is in the budget, is good. The bed count with regard to dealing with the collection of illegal agents in the deportation efforts is very good. But the Coast Guard's budget and the TSA budget need to be sustained at levels that allow the growth and modernization of their capabilities, both in the airports around this country and at sea, as the Coast Guard deals with not only the things I've already spoken about, but the port security realities where 9,000 inspections of incoming foreign vessels, which sustain over $3 trillion worth of commerce for this country, are guaranteed by the Coast Guard on an annual basis. It's just not the time to cut that budget.
All right, we will be watching that. Admiral James Loy, good to see you. Thanks so much for your insights, sir.
Thank you, Maria.